and welcome to another video. So it has been a while since I made a video. Pretty much it's been kind of a slow week for me. Before I start the first part, I'm just gonna go over my build real quick. I'm gonna start with a map, and then the second part of the video I'm just gonna talk how the league, what I've been mainly focusing on the past week and what my plans are next. So that was the map. So pretty much the build scales around the explode mode on your chest. You're scaling the damage and the AoE of the explosions to get some really nice explosions going off. This build is a mapping build, especially one of the faster ones considering you are a marauder after all, which doesn't have too many options for speed mapping. But for bossing, this build is not too great, at least with the setup I went with. You do not have the damage to take down Awakener 8 and stuff like that. So this build is only for mapping really. Now map bosses, even tier 16s, they're no problem at all. You just pop your Blade Vortex and they pretty much insta-die. So it's fine for that, but anything other than that, like Uber Elder and stuff like that, I would not advise for this build. On top of that, if you're wanting to make a mapping character, well, this is one of the faster ones for the Marauder ascendancies. I do think going something as Assassin or Ranger is just straight up faster. Even Assassin Blade Vortex is just faster, has more damage, and you can even argue has better defenses since you do have a lot of dodge and evasion on those builds, but you can make this one very tanky as well. So I'm gonna go over my gear. So first up, the body. Of course, the main mod you want on here is the enemies you kill explode, which is what the build is reliant on. On top of that, I'd say get the 15% chance to get a power charge or crit, so you have power charge generation, and then other than that you can go with life and resist, and if you can get some spell crit on there, and maybe +1 to active skill jumps or support jumps, both work, since we are using it in power, but I'd say the two important mods are the power charge on crit and the enemies you kill explode, and the rest is up to you. As you see, I only have 56 life. I was harvest crafting to reroll my life to try and get tier 1 or tier 2, so I'm still working on that. As for the helm, now ideally you do want a rare helm with life resist and maybe some damage on it, but rare helms with the Blade Vortex enchant are quite expensive this league. I think they're 8 exalts or something like that and going up. So I went with Crown of the Inward Eye because it's very cheap and it does give us quite a decent amount of life by itself, which is the main thing I wanted from my helm slot anyway. And the gloves, my gloves are just placeholder gloves since I need some dex and some cold res, so I pretty much just grabbed the first pair of gloves I saw in my stash. I was gonna craft better ones, but I didn't get around to it. So pretty much just want life, resist, and maybe some dex if you don't get enough from your amulet. The belt, now this belt looks really good, but it really isn't. It's just a belt I'm laying around for my build. The elemental damage with attack skills does nothing for this build. The only thing I'm getting from this belt is life and resist. You can go for a bit more damage on your belt as well if you prefer, but I mean, for the mapping you really don't need that much damage, since as soon as you kill one enemy, everything linked to it will just die as well. For the boots, you want movement speed, of course. Since Marauder, this is pretty much the only sort of movement speed you're gonna get. And then Tailwind if you can, and then just life and resist. Now I was rerolling life on here as well, so as you see, only 41 life at the moment. You do want a higher life roll, of course. Now the rings, I went with Circle of Anguishes with fire damage, while affected by Herald of Ice, and Herald of Ash buff effect, sorry. Now these are quite pricey. I think they were about 7 exalts and going upwards, depending on the implicits you get. But you can also just use rare rings with life resist and maybe a bit of damage on them, and whatever else of stats you want. So it's up to you. But these rings do give you a decent amount of damage, so if you can afford them, it's definitely worth it. For the Amulet, we just got a lot of dex, since Blade Vortex is a dex spell, and since we are on the strength part of the tree, we don't get too much dexterity here. So you definitely want dex on your Amulet. And then +1 and the physical extra fire damage, those are some nice damage mods. So get either or both if you can. Some crit multi, life. And the way I went about it is I put +1 to minimum frenzy charges as a suffix, and then on my shield I have +2 to minimum frenzy charges, so I always have minimum frenzy, my maximum amount of frenzy charges I can have. So I don't need any frenzy charge generation on this build, since I just get them that way. And then the rest of the stats of the shield is just +1, crit chance to spells, life, spell damage. Now these are a lot of mods and the shield can get quite pricey, but what you're looking for is just whatever damage mods you can get and life pretty much, so you don't need exactly all these mods on it. And then for the weapon, I went with a +2 spell damage, crit chance, cast speed, and trigger. Now the trigger is optional, since I am using just Way of Combustion, which is for the fire exposure, but I do have a jewel with that as well, so it's kind of reluctant. On top of that, +2, I mean, you can go for +1 as well with some spell damage and crit chance to spells, it will be just fine. This one is a bit more pricey than that. So that's the gear. This is the spell links: Vol Blade Vortex, Unleash, Conk Effect, Control Destruction, Ally Focus, and Empower. You can definitely swap out the Empower for another damage link that's just a lot cheaper. The Elemental Focus, I wasn't using this until recently as well, because I wanted some more damage. I was using Intensify before, which gives you more AoE, but at the loss of a lot of damage. So if you need damage, definitely use Ally Focus. If you don't need a damage, if you're doing lower tier maps, or just have better gear than me, and you don't need a damage, you can use Intensify to get even bigger explosions. Dash and Second Wind, my movement skill. Now what you can do on this build to make it even faster is use Seal Charge with faster attacks. If you go do that route though, I'd advise getting an attack speed roll on your weapon, and you probably need a scepter for that. So it's up to you if you do that, but this was fast enough for me for a Marauder, so I just went with Dash, Herald of Ash, and Anger and Precision, which are the auras we're using in this build. Then the weapon, we also have Wave of Conviction and Combustion, like I said, which every time we do an action, it'll trigger the Wave of Conviction, of course with a little cooldown. Urgent Orders with Enduring Cry and Increased Duration. So pretty much we just Enduring Cry once, and just your Endurance charges will go up to the max amount, and then after that they start ticking down with 12 seconds. So in total, every time we Enduring Cry, we pretty much have 17 seconds of our Endurance charges uptime. Which is thanks to our Ascendancy as well, which here says that +1 friendly charges and you gain an Endurance Try every second if you work right decently. So they just keep ticking up and then they tick down. So it's very nice for bosses. Now we do also have Endurance Charge on kill, so while mapping you'll have all your Endurance Charge up all the time, which is very good defensively. And for bosses, you just pop this once and you're pretty much ready to go for the rest of the fight. And then we have Increased Duration, Steel Skin, Cast on Damage Taken, and Val Grace, just some more defenses. You can swap the Steel Skin out for Immortal Call. We have Flammability, Orbital Storm's Curse on hit, so we just pop this on bosses and it'll curse the boss with Flammability. Just gives us some more damage, so that's pretty much the gems. I do have a jewel here with Onslaught, but it's pretty much useless since we are using a Sinner Swallow, which gives us Onslaught. And then we're also using Quicksilver, Diamond Flask, so these 3 flasks I definitely use. And then after that, it's up to you what you want to do. I went to the Basalt with Curse Removal, and the Dying Sun just gives us some AoE. It's not even well rolled, but ideally here you want a Bald Fate to get some more crit. That would be the better option, but they're quite pricey. And so the passive 3, the Ascendancy, and this gives you the other 50% conversion, and we are using Avatar Fire, which pretty much gives us 100% fire damage in total. And then we have this to cover enemies in Ash, some strength, and some life leech. Now the other part of your ascendancy, definitely go for this. Just gives you this endurance charge generation and just a lot more tankiness. So I definitely go for this, and then you can choose. You can either go for this or this. Now I started with this because it's more damage, but then I switched to this because I didn't really need the fire penetration, and this is just straight up more tanky, which also gives me a lot of fire resist. As you see, my resists are way overcapped. I have 260% fire res. I needed to switch some resists around to cold res because I am missing some, and then I got another 100 fire res here. So definitely not too hard of a build to cap your resist on, because especially with your ascendancy you do get a lot of resists. Then you pretty much just take a lot of life nodes. I'm still missing a jewel socket here actually. Took this node because it's some speed. AoE nodes, you want to get AoE of course on this build to scale that. We're using Thread of Hope here, so we can pick up all these nodes, which gives a lot of damage. I also picked up this, which gives Arcane Surge. Then just some more life. I have a Watcher's Eye here with Fire Penetration by Anger. A lot of Anger mods work on this build. They're not too expensive, so you can definitely pick one up. That is if you're using Anger. You can also just go for a more defensive aura, like Arctic Armor for example. And then just some more damage, some crit. Of course Avatar Fire, very important. And then we go to the Witch area to get some more crit and AoE. I did use an Intuitive Leap here to pick up this Herald node, some damage and a power charge. This is optional though, you can definitely drop this and just use a normal jewel and spend the points somewhere else. And then just some more life here. And then we went with a Cluster Jewel. The nodes I went with, Burning Bright, some AoE and damage. Prismatic Heart, some damage and resist. And again AoE and damage. And then my small jewels, this one's just again AoE and damage. And this Cooked Alive gives enemies ignited by you have -10 to fire resist, so just some more damage. And then we have Master of Fire, which gives fire exposure, but it's kind of pointless since I got a trigger wand, which with a bit of conviction we do get a fire exposure anyway. So this node is kind of not needed. So you can choose to go either this or with the trigger wand setup. And then here enemies you hit are destroyed on kill, which again with the explode mod isn't too great. Sorry, but I decided to get it anyway. And then we just have 2 Fettles to get us some more life, because we didn't want to go for a lot of life on this build. Now we only have 6.2k life, but if my life rolls on my gear were a lot better, and I also got a rare helm, I definitely can hit 7k life very easily on this build. Also my gloves I need to recraft, so that's the build. I mean, go for it if you want to play a Marauder, but like I said, if you're looking for a speed mapping build, I don't think this is the one. It is quite safe and tanky, but I think an Assassin would just do better in every aspect. So that's the build I'm with now. I'm going to talk about my league progress so far. So pretty much the past week has been pretty slow. What I've been doing is just making a character, playing it for a day or two, and then re-rolling to another one. I've been respecing all my characters quite a few times now. I haven't really found the character that I want to play in it. On top of that, the crafting. I've tried crafting for profit, but a lot of times if I'm just crafting random stuff, I end up not finishing most of the items and just not having too much inspiration on what to craft exactly, because a lot of things are pretty hard to sell this league, since a lot of people are crafting, and the people who usually buy gear are just crafting their own gear on top of that. So pretty much the thing I found for myself works best is to just make a build and then craft for my own gear, and then eventually once I'm done with the build I can just sell it and get my profit that way. Just gives me more motivation to craft gear, like this character for example. I crafted most of this gear. Now a lot of it isn't finished yet of course, but that's how I go about it. In terms of money, so I did just sell a mirror because I'm about to roll another build and I needed the money. So I had 3 mirrors actually, because this one cost me a mirror as well, which wasn't finished yet, but I did manage to finish it, and it's off for a mirror service now. Very happy with this bow, which also makes me to my next build, which I'm going to go back to my bow character, since it's pretty much the main build I've always played in PoE. I always end up going to bow characters. I think most level 100s I have in standard are all rangers, well, most of them at least. So this bow is absolutely insane. I mean, I'm very happy with the results, so happy with this bow. So this was a mirror, and then on top of that I had a mirror here, and I had another mirror I just sold like not too long ago. Well, if I scroll up you can see it. So I had 3 mirrors and then some gear. I still have quite a few stuff selling as well. This bow was the first one I was working on before that one came available, but I did dump quite a bit of money on this and didn't get anywhere. I still have these gloves to finish. I have the shield, which I ended up crafting. I have a few stuff still. But even though I do have 3 mirrors and still some gear and stuff like that, it has been quite a slow league for me now. Most of the money came from selling my Frostblader's gear, which was pretty min-maxed. I think that's over 2 mirrors just came from that alone. So that's the main money I made this league, which, yeah, it's still a lot of money, but for me personally, it's been a slower league than usual. I just haven't found my way around yet. But the past week has definitely been slow for me, even though I did make quite a decent amount of money so far this league. It's been slower than usual, since I just haven't really found my way around, with no Beyond being available. So that was the build. Now, the way I've been going this league, the past week has been pretty slow, since I've pretty much just been re-rolling and respecking my characters to different builds, playing them for maybe a day, and then doing the same thing the next day. So I made quite a few builds. I didn't make build guides for all of them, since a lot of them were not finished, or in my opinion not too great, so I didn't want to recommend them. Now also the reason why I've been rerolling so much is because I've been kind of enjoying crafting, but the issue with it is when I'm just crafting to make money, it hasn't really been turning out too great, since most of those projects end up unfinished, or I just end up selling them when I can just finish crafting them better and sell them for more. And a lot of stuff also just don't sell straight up. I think this league, a lot of people are crafting, so there's a lot of stuff available in the market, and there's a lot of competition. So I think that's a bigger issue as well. But the reason why I've been rerolling, since I think the most success I find is if I create my own build and I start crafting the gear for that. So I'm more like target crafting something. It gives me a lot more reason to craft and farm all those harvest crafts myself. So I've pretty much just been doing that, and then every time once I do finish the build, or at least to a stage that I'm comfortable with, I can just sell the gear and then get all the profit that way. So that works as well for me. So this build, I mean, pretty much I'm done with it now, because I did end up getting this bow. Now, this bow first, I was trying to craft something like this, and instead of this socketed gems chain one additional time, I was going to go for double damage, crafted on it, 10%, which the chain is obviously better, but it was going to cost me quite a lot to craft it. I did start with my other bow here. Now what I was doing with this, I had to do remove add influence modifier till I got the 20% more damage, and then work on the suffixes still. So on average I already dumped like 60 exalt into this bow or something like that, and on average it was going to cost me well over a mirror to finish it. But then I ended up finding this one. Now it wasn't finished yet, I didn't have the white sockets or the enchant. I think I needed some divines as well, but I managed to find this for a mirror. And then I ended up finishing it, and now it's up for mirror service because it's definitely mirror worthy. There's a few other bows like this, but they're on ticket base, which there's an argument to be made which base you prefer. Now personally I don't think either matters, because this one just gives you 24% more elemental damage at the loss of a little bit of attack speed. So it's up to you which you like, but since getting this bow, I'm pretty much just gonna roll a ranger again. Since ranger is the main ascendancy I've been playing like all throughout PoE, I think every league I get a level 100 ranger, so this league is gonna be no exception. I'm gonna make my ranger and just map on that, and min-max the gear on that character. So in terms of money, I did have a mirror here, and then I had 2 mirrors. I just ended up selling one since I'm gonna need to buy gear for my ranger, finally going back to a headhunter. And then I still have some stuff selling around, of course, as well. But it's been pretty hard to sell stuff. Now, of course, quite a lot of my stuff is overpriced, like this shield. I probably need to sell it to 20 to 25x. These gloves, I mean, I just had them listed, but I'm pretty much just going to craft them myself since I do have the suffixes already. And Blade Vortex Helm and stuff like that. Now, most of the money did come from selling my Frostblader's gear from the start of the league, which a lot of that stuff combined sold for over 2 mirrors. And then just the character I've been rolling and selling the gear from has been adding up a decent amount as well. So I definitely have comfortably over 3 mirrors, but it's been a slower league for me than usual. I think the main reason is there is no Beyond on the map device, which just has made me map a lot less than I usually do. And on top of that, the crafting, since so many people are crafting this league, in my opinion, for a casual crafter, it's a lot harder to make money via crafting than it usually is. Since most leagues people don't actually craft, so it's very easy to find markets and make big margins on them. But it's a fun league still, nonetheless. So we will definitely stacking up some crafts here. So I'm going to be crafting quite a lot. And the next build is probably going to go back to my ranger. I think my goals for now is, I mean, I still have to do a lot of challenges. I haven't really got around to them, but a lot of them are easy. So I'll probably work on some challenges here and there. And the main thing is I want to set up my ranger again and probably look at doing fractured 5 or delirium maps. So that's probably going to be the next video. So I hope you enjoyed and have a good day.